soif. Tu bois sans dire à tout.
What's going on, Jerk Faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another episode for you this week. A lot of things to talk about, but as always, to talk about it with me is co-piloting this thing with me is the homeboy Rob.
What is going on, everybody?
A lot's been going on if you've been paying attention to the news. I mean, and beyond just the Corona stuff. Just kind of
my God. Yeah, it's been an interesting day today. To be honest.
Yeah, and I think just beyond just beyond just like the virus itself, just kind of maybe the intended consequences of a panic frenzy from the populace.
So yeah.
It's
why don't we just hop right into that, Andy? Because this is something I think we just need to put it out there and give
right. Tonight. There's too much stuff that we have to go over, or I think you and I both want to expound upon, and there's just no time for foreplay, so let's just get into
it. Just shove it in, baby.
Yeah, let's just do the damn thing. I don't know. Do you want to start us off, or?
No. You this is your news topic, so I'll just I'll chime in when necessary.
Okay, sounds good. Like we were alluding to on the outset. It's a lot of things going on, and they're not necessarily being covered by the mainstream media, and so I think we took it upon ourselves to bring it to the fore and to discuss it. One of the things that's been going on that I think has been grossly underreported or just outright omitted from the mainstream media is the constant overreach of government. And you might be thinking to yourself, "Oh, what are you talking about? The government isn't doing anything so out of line, or cause for alarm." And that's where I would respectfully disagree. And and that's about the end of my respect.
It's like, well, you're being an idiot. That's what. Yeah, that's what. That's how I would put it.
Right. You're just being a damn fool is what you're being. If you're not, as a certain group might say, not being woke on certain matters. It's just.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just start with. Oh, did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna ask you as kind of a lead-in, like, where did you start to get some of the inkling of a lot of this overreach?
Well, I mean, just to be honest with you, it's just the lockdown itself. The lockdown itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they use like this very that's how they get you, is like with words, and they use like these these nice sounding words, like like essential. I guess like essential jobs. It's like, well, like, who are you to determine what is essential? Because what if I am the sole, what if I'm the sole provider for my family? And if I don't work, then I don't get, I don't bring any money, and I can't provide groceries or pay the bills or pay the mortgage. And so, is not my job essential? Like even if I'm a lowly janitor, is not my job essential to my family?
Yeah,
And it's just like this kind of like this sneaky like sleight of hand that they do, where it's like where they essentially are devaluing human beings, human lives. It's like, oh, like, oh, yeah, it's like we're gonna strongly recommend that people shelter in place and isolate themselves and social distance. And every time I say that word, I want to punch myself in the dick. Um, but it's
contagion negation.
yeah, contagion negation, as we have coined on this podcast. Uh, yeah, and so I immediately recognized the overreach, from the jump. It was so obvious.
Well, and I'm similar to you in that same sense. Once again, our government officials acting as though we're just the lowly peons that we're beneath them. You have guys who are like Bolshevik Mayor Bill de Blasio from New York, who um, is saying, "Oh no, we're closing all this stuff down, stay at home." But me, I can go work out. That's okay. I'm gonna go to the gym, and it's like, no, you're not. It's like you don't get to break your own, house arrest that you've implemented. But to him, it's like, oh well, I needed to feel better about myself. It's like, yeah, you know what? There are millions of other people. It's like you, if you're gonna promote this thing, then you stay home too. You're not better than us. You're and if anything, you're below us. You're our employee. At least if you're living in New York City. Um, you have that chick with the fucked up eyes in Chicago, the mayor there, who is, oh, well, I got a haircut because I'm on, I have to be on TV and I can't cut my hair myself. Yeah, you know what? So a million other Chicagoans who probably want to get their hair cut. And, it's like, I really care about my hygiene. So does everybody else. Obviously, this whole thing is about hygiene, for fuck's sake.
I know, with
It's,
their constant, what is it? Their constant PSAs about washing your hands using Elmo. Um,
oh, and then you had her just like a few weeks prior to this, where she's like giving out this just disgusting like PSA about like what's essential, what's not, and to tell
mhm.
people to stay at home. But that doesn't apply to her, of course. And when she's pressed about it, it's like, oh, really, are we really going to talk about this right now? Don't we have so many more important things to talk about? No, actually, we don't, because we're stuck here and under house arrest that you put us under. So I think we should talk about it, and we should fire your ass.
Right, absolutely.
And the worst of all is our mayor, who is just the chills ran up my spine when I heard the saying, uh, well, but here snitches get rewarded. It's talking about kind of ratting people out and paying them for it. So what are you gonna?
Right,
Of course,
right.
you're
I mean, even
you've put millions of people out of work, and now you're incentivizing them to get money by ratting people out. That's Soviet Russia fucking bullshit.
right. I mean, essentially, he's turned. He's in essence, he's turned them into brown shirts. Um,
Yeah.
and for those of you who don't know their history, we all know what happened to the brown shirts. It was called the Night of Long Knives, and as soon as the and again, and just to give context, brown shirts were essentially the Antifa of their time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were Hitler's boys. They were the ones to, if people, weren't necessarily jiving or picking up what Hitler was laying down, they made sure that they got down to pick it up. Usually, with their boot on the back of your head.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
essentially, they were his useless idiots, and a lot of people think that that these same people became the SS. Mm-mm,
no,
mm-mm.
yeah, because what they don't know is they don't know about the Night of Long Knives, which is basically Hitler. Uh, big Hitler, decide, as soon as the brown shirts no longer were useful, he murked them
Yep.
in the
Very
night,
effective.
and he straight up murked them all because they weren't useful for his vision for the new German.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if perhaps we should use like strong language, but I mean that's essentially what Garcetti's doing. He's saying he's saying he's empowering people to to snitch on their neighbor. Um, but what's going to happen to you when you're no longer useful, or what happens when your neighbor rats on you?
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
here's the other thing too, Andy, which is they're really not hiding the ball at all. Like you had it back when they're working on that stimulus bill.
mhm,
Nancy Pelosi was saying it's like, yo, this is our chance to reshape the government in our image. And even Eric Garcetti uh, said the same very same thing. Someone called in and asked, it's is this a way? Is this a time where we can reshape the government in a more progressive manner? And he said, absolutely, that's what we want to do. What? This is this
yeah, right. I
isn't
mean, okay. Let me
something
just pull up
politicized.
the. I have some. I have some notes here, so let's shoot. Um, share the screen with you. Uh, all right,
Yeah,
so
we have like this.
it's running all cylinders tonight, I guess. Okay. Well, yeah. Here's okay. This is I pulled up three different sources for this specific topic. Um, One is from the LAist. It's a kind of like online sort of magazine that deals with the things in LA. Usually, I would log into their site for like recommendations for restaurants or where to get a drink with my friends. But they but instead I found this article that they wrote uh, mentioning the mayor's uh, harsher harsher measures for quarantine. Just, okay. All right. Okay. Yes. So here's the first one. This is from the LAS. LA mayor says when it comes to reporting business violations, snitches get rewards, and that is a direct quote from the mayor. He literally said that, you know, in a press conference. Um, I don't know. I forgot to check how long this was, but yeah, there's a. I think initially this was couched in business offenders, so people operating their businesses illegally during the quarantine and shelter at
It's
home.
not, Andy. It's not quarantine. It's house arrest. That's what it is.
Right, yeah. Hence the air quotes. Um, but I think he couched this in the guise, because it cites this article, or this quick little snippet cites that, talking about construction companies who are, operating during the house arrest. Uh, but honestly, it's, what it businesses are run by people, so you're essentially ratting out on people.
And also, well, two things I gotta say. First of all, and more of a comedic note, why is it that like every fucking person that's doing sign language and these things and they find the goofiest looking people of all time doing sign language? For one, I mean, the lady that's in this clip, I mean, she looks like a fucking. She doesn't look real. She looks. Um, but two, um, as far as construction, being open, it's like, oh, it's fine as far as it's Caltrans. Because have you seen all the um, road construction that's been going on? Caltrans is fine. So what's the difference? And like I said, that's government run.
That's right. That's right, because
So so
even
that's
before the house arrest, I saw a lot of on the freeways, they were doing a lot of construction just prior to the announcement of, the virus, and the lockdown. So it seems pretty suspicious, that they're doing all this now. Um, I would understand it, like, if you know. It's just the timing is suspicious, is all I'm trying to get at. Because it'd be one thing if they lock it down. They're like, hey, you know what? We decided to do. We're going to take advantage of, the less traffic on the road, and we're going to take care of some road construction. All right, cool, fine. Do as you will. But yeah, the timing is just really suspicious, and kind of like the weird justification that only, state-run things are allowed to work, are allowed to operate, but not, private companies.
yeah, it's like
Um, oh yeah, here's the quote, where it says, the old expression about snitches. Well, in this case, snitches get rewards. We want to thank you for turning folks in and making sure we are all safe. Look, I know that this is tough. I know that life feels fundamentally changed, and trust me, I have no joy in the rest of the city government and county government has no joy in stopping our life temporarily. End quote.
takes no joy in it or shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long this clip is, so I'm kind of reticent to play it. But maybe we should just let the let the mayor's words.
Yeah, I agree. Let's let it play.
All right, let me.
If we have to push some other stuff back next week,
Oh,
because this is more. This is more.
interesting. This video is unavailable.
Oh, fancy
Huh,
that.
interesting. Interesting. Okay. Here's one from the LA Times, which again is just, this. Oh yeah. Some seven air Los Angeles Mayor announced an order Tuesday requiring all residents. Oh, this was what? Yeah. Essentially, they're requiring all people to wear masks. It's not just people who work at grocery stores, or or restaurants, or other type of businesses. But it's just like, basically everyone um, is now required to wear it. And shit. Oh crap. There's a quote here from the city council. Oh, here it is. Yeah. City Councilman Paul Cortez. Yeah, he says everybody has some cloth at home. There are all kinds of different ways to do. Uh, Here. Later in the interview Tuesday evening, Cortez called the mayor's order a big step in the right direction, but said he would like Los Angeles to go even farther and mandate masks or other facial coverings whenever Angelenos leave their homes. A step in the right direction, really? Mandating people to cover their faces? This um Robert, are you hearing some interference on your end? Good. Is it okay on my end? Um, but you can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Uh, Jeez. Um, Robert, Robert, why don't you expound a little bit while I, see if I can't try to take care of this. I don't think that.
Yeah. No, so with with all this stuff, they're requiring all this stuff. They're being forced. I don't know if anyone has seen like and this isn't just going on in New York City. This is going on in Michigan, Kentucky, Chicago, all these places where they're all trying to like one up each other with these draconian laws that are unconstitutional. And listen, Americans need to do what it takes to help one another out. I really do believe in that. In times of working together, even if it's making sacrifices, right? But it's these people are forcing stuff on you. It's not because they care about you. They're not your friend. They want to dominate you. They want to destroy your rights. And you get it's the same thing with the media. Media is the front runner, and they're not your friend. They're not going to report the truth. They are going to create fear, and in the case of our mayor in Los Angeles, he's rewarding people for selling people out. And to be honest, these people are going to lie. These people are, when you give them an incentive for evil, that's what's going to happen. They're going to make up lies, and it's just essentially a witch, for lack of a better term. I mean, hell, you even had what is it, Michigan's governor who's now banning the sale of vegetable and fruit seeds so that people can't plant their own food while this stuff is going on. How fucked up is that? And it's
Right.
like when the supply chain run out, which is a possibility. It could if this keeps going on. It's very, very possible.
You're right. yeah, here's this is the article from the Federalist, and it's really weird because the law is so vague and just imprecise. It's really hard to it's really hard for anyone to know like what is the right move here. Um, because there's like where was it? There's a story of this guy who I think he has some land, and I think he sells like fruit from a stand, but he also has but he also like sells like seedlings and seed packets as well. And so what is it, like the law states that if a building is or if a building is like 50,000 square feet or whatever, then it's allowed to stay open or operate. But if it's smaller than that, then it has to be shut down.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but then it makes certain exemptions for like food stuff, which he does sell. He does sell like fruits and like food type trees, tomatoes,
Right.
and what have you. And so he essentially falls in this like you know weird gray area, which the law or which the executive order doesn't cover. And so like in those cases, it's like they're erring more on the side of extremism and like just having them shut down. Um, and you might say like, oh well, that's that's to be expected from rolling out hastily crafted laws. Uh, then we get to the point of like implementing those laws, and then we have what's happened in Philadelphia, where a man was dragged off a bus by 10 police officers for not wearing a mask. Um, the story goes that the southeastern Philadelphia, Transit Authority put in effect uh, a policy where all riders had to wear masks, and this gentleman, he wasn't wearing a mask, and so police came and and pretty violently pulled him off the the bus, and I have the clip, and I will share the clip with you. Sound coming through? I think the sound's coming. One second. Sorry, folks. We're
Well, I'll make some comment because I've seen this video several times. Uh, you're gonna hear a lady on there. It's gonna say, thank you for dragging this man off there." It's like, couldn't we have, I don't know, because masks are not, uh, contrary to popular opinion, they're not easy to find,
right,
especially
right,
really now.
especially nowadays.
And I'm sure that these police officers probably have extra. They could just say, "Hey, man, here's a mask. Like, and just be careful. Try to get some." Or, "Hey, man, like just put like your shirt over your mouth, something like that, just to kind of it's not the best thing, but it's better than nothing."
Right. I mean, that's what the CDC even recommends that these people do.
Yeah, but no, let's just rip this man, like, probably injure the guy, but like, you know, quote unquote, maybe infect a bunch of people by shouting and screaming and dragging this guy off the train. Like, what are we doing?
Mhm.
This unacceptable. And I hope that man sues the city and takes them to the cleaner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, folks. We're trying a lot of new things here tonight.
So, sorry, Andy, we get it. We get it.
Yeah, but just yeah, as Robert was saying, just like the violence used on this one man, and then like the woman in the background, like saying thank you, for basically stomping on this guy's rights. It's
Yeah. You notice how it's always women?
yeah, it's always women. But they women are more uh, women are more. What's the word I'm looking for? Women are more disposed to authoritarianism, which sounds weird, and and I don't mean to knock all women, but
It's not all women,
it's not
but
all women.
it
But
seems
generally speaking, women prefer security to freedom. Like if like they're like security is very important to women, and if they'll take it however they can get it. So if you say, okay, give me your guns, give me your gun, and then I'll protect you, it's like okay,
but
okay, I
no,
think I can.
you got it. Okay.
Well, yeah, well you'll be able to hear the audio. Just let me know if you don't.
As long as the audience can hear it, I don't care if
Okay, all right, well, here we go.
like this scared the shit out of me.
What the fuck am I holding on to? Yo, you gonna feel this, man. Look what the fuck y'all calling me, dumbass. Get the fuck off. Yeah.
Look how many cops there are. Like, 1, 2.
Right.
Oh, and especially the other thing too is like because I think the guy looks to be black
Yeah, he's a
possibly.
black man. He's not doesn't have his
Take me if you fucking want. Where the fuck? Close this door, man. Fucking pussy ass.
And, it's funny though, like now it's like, oh well, no, this
I'm
isn't
on all
police
y'all fucking
brutality.
ass
This
niggas
is
too.
you know you know doing the right thing. It's like
Yeah.
whoa, wait, where did this double standard?
right. And I mean, if you notice, towards the beginning of the clip, you see his phone drops right there, right there. It's right here. It's right by this cop's foot right here. I'm using the mouse to highlight it for the audience.
Yeah,
And then look what happened at the end when they let him go.
Where the fuck?
That's his phone. Some cop just threw it at him.
Take me if you fucking want.
wow.
Where the fuck?
Right there. See, right there, right there. Let's again.
Take me if you
Let
fucking
him
want.
go. Where's his phone? Right. Oh, it just happened to just fall into frame, even though it was supposed to be at the entrance of the bus.
Yeah,
That's some dick ass cop. That's a dick ass cop.
yeah. This
Um,
and honestly, these
and it's these kind of authoritarian policies that are giving the asshole cops carte blanche to act like this.
and and here's the other thing too. The majority of the cities that we're talking about, Democratic, Democrat run, and to be honest, if we got an election coming up, and the next we have the presidential election coming up in a few months, and have other elections. If you guys keep voting Democrat, you see this stuff. If you guys keep voting Democrat, you're stupid. You deserve everything you get.
Right, and I mean, and just in another video from Philadelphia is this bus driver. I don't know if you've seen this one either, but yeah, here's this bus driver, and he kicks off people who not that they're not wearing masks.
If you do not have a mask, you cannot ride public transportation.
Even if they have the face covering, they're not wearing like a medical grade mask.
You have to get off the bus.
He kicks them off. Watch right now. He's gonna kick. Like there's gonna be a guy with a bandana. He's gonna kick them off.
Sir. You gotta get off the bus, man. I'm gonna have the cops take you off, one or the other. You have to get off. You have to get off. You have to get off. Let's go.
I have to get off?
Yes, sir.
Even though I had it.
You don't have no mask. Let's go. Let's go. You gotta get off. Let's go.
I know it's kind of hard to tell from that guy, but he had like a bandana over his face. But even like the CDC even said like, oh yeah, just wear any kind of covering. It could be a cloth covering, it could be a scarf. It's fine. But the Philadelphia Transit Authority, they I guess they implemented something where it had to be like a medical grade mask,
which you can't find anymore.
Yeah, which you can't find anyways.
Which they're not making. They're giving those all to the hospital stuff, which is fine. That's where they belong. But
exactly. And I mean, now after like videos like this and the one that I just showed, that they just announced that they will no longer require it, but it's just suggested. Oh yeah. Initially they mandated it. The initial mandate was reversed after only one day. Southeast Philadelphia Transit Authority is now simply strongly encouraging passengers to wear protective masks and gloves.
Yeah, you see, like when people actually start to push back on these things.
Right, and this isn't even half of it, because there was the story of this man who was simply at a park with his wife and kid, and they were the only ones in the park, and police came and arrested him for being out in public playing with this kid. They arrested him in front of his kid, and this guy, I think he was like a state trooper too, right? And he didn't initially identify him as such, because like why would he have to, to get special treatment?
Yeah, it's like, and the thing is, like, this is why, and we talked about this is why the media keeps people in fear, and so that way that these Democratic politicians can then implement these type of order, these type of unconstitutional orders, and because they expect people to be too fearful to to stand up for themselves. And so they just like, oh, and it's a power grab. And when you see people stand up for themselves, stand up for the rights that they have, it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. We can't do that. And so then they all of a sudden change they lose them. Yeah, exactly. And another big one, obviously, churches. And it's you look at the language. It seems to be only synagogues and churches. What's missing out of that? Mosques and whatever crazy ass religions out there.
Zoroastrians, where like there's no mention of Zoroastrians.
I'm just saying, it's like, it's funny how Islam is a Now, is that something where it's just like, oh well, that's an assumption that like all religious services, or I have a feeling that that's something that's like, oh well, no, that's like that they don't want to appear racist. But yeah, the Jews and the Christians, like fuck those guys. They don't need that. Church is not not essential. Even like when you're complying with the kind of the social or the contagion negation uh
Thank you.
levels of systems, um, or you have or just like I said, or people aren't together. It's like they had like that drive, the kind of like the drive-in ish type church there. We're gathered together, but we're not actually together. We're all
Yeah, we're separated in our cars. And I understand. I understand. Compromise. I do. I truly do.
That's a
And,
compromise.
yeah, and I understand like the idea of kind of the workarounds because that's a workaround. Yeah, it's, we're the churches are able to meet. We're still complying with the 6 feet thing. We're actually being separated by our cars. So I completely understand the workaround. But when do we stop complying? That's the question that I'm asking myself. When will it be too much?
Yes,
You know, and
typically.
and today I was struggling with this a lot because we kind of I think we addressed this, not exactly this issue, but maybe something similar, or I think the same similar principle in the idea of like turning the other cheek. And I was really thinking about that principle today, where I don't know, for those of you who are just joining this stream for the first time or finding this clip uh, for the first time and you're intrigued, I have an interpretation of turn the other cheek. Where a lot of people might misinterpret or understand that to mean like just take the beating. I've come to interpret it as uh, make it worth it, make your reaction worth it. Which also ties into something that Jesus also said about your yes being yes and your no being no. And right now I think in terms of like religion, yeah, the government they slapped you on one cheek. Right now, I think that's like this whole like kind of separation and not allowing church services to happen. I think that's the first smack across the cheek. And I think we should offer the other cheek. We should offer the other cheek. Let the government's yes be yes or no be no. But if they're gonna go after if they're gonna go after constitutionally protected rights that come from God, then our reaction has to be worth it. It can't be ambiguous.
Yeah.
And so right now, I think like this whole not allowing 10 or more people to congregate, that's the first slap across the cheek. And I'm offering the other cheek. I'm offering that other cheek. But that's I had this struggle with me this whole time because I wanted because I was even thinking about writing my pastor, just kind of just laying it out like what I'm feeling and how I feel that this is wrong. But then I was meditating on today, and it has to be a yes or yes, no is no situation. We can't we can't go off on the initial action.
Yeah. It's the yeah. All this stuff is it's. I'm having the same struggle with you, Dan, where it just I am horrified by the weakness that people have shown.
Right. I mean, oh man, I wish I had pulled it up, but there was this great clip of I think a little while back. Um, and CNN was covering this church that was still having services. And they stopped one lady in her car and interviewed her, and she was so based. She was like saying, they kept trying to like kind of entrap her and say like, oh, aren't you afraid of getting coronavirus or whatever? It's like, no, no, I'm covered in Jesus' blood. That's literally what she said. I'm covered in Jesus' blood. I'm okay. And then she was like, and then he was doing the tactic of like, oh, basically, the Helen Lovejoy. Oh, think of the children. Um, where there, he was like saying like, oh, well, what about people that outside this church? It's like, aren't you afraid that you can get them sick, you know, because you got sick from someone at your church? It's like when she kept, she kept appealing to God, which I think what Christians should do all the time, or specifically and especially now. Because any worldly authority you appeal to, there's always kind of a retort. But when you appeal to God, there is no other like, oh well, the scientists are human beings, they're not higher than God. Say, oh, the government's under God, they're not higher than God. And even when the reporter tried to get her on that, it's like, oh, you can get other people sick. Like, if you go out to those places, it's like, well, they can get me sick.
Oh, but here's the other thing that they don't talk about. It's like, okay, well then, if that's the case, then if you're really worried about that, then the grocery stores need to be shut down, Walmart need to be shut down, Target need to be shut down. Because let's be honest, the lines at these places are it's out the door, and
Right.
trust me, people are not staying 6 feet away from each other.
No, of course
I
not.
know, because where I'm working at, like people aren't staying 6 feet away from each other. It's and so, but yet we're still open. So is it, are you actually really cared about people getting sick, or is this just a way like you want to ramp up religious freedom that someone is supposed to have? Like I said, I'm all for being smart. Like if I'm not saying that this virus doesn't exist or whatever. And like I said, let's be smart. Let's be hygienic. Let's take precautions. But you're not going to take my rights away. Sorry, not going to happen. And people are like laughing at like all these people going to the gun store, to these gun stores to buy guns, and it's like, that's so unessential. Fucking thing.
Oh,
it's
that's
more
right.
it's more
Right. The
now
sheriff,
than
the LA County sheriff, he deemed gun stores as non-vital or non-essential businesses, and was
yeah.
trying to shut them down. Just I mean, to kind of uh, update on the Alyssa Milano being a utter hypocrite and fraud. She put out a video saying like, oh, we have to make sure that we're not going crazy and getting guns during this pandemic, because who knows, like the gun that we buy for this could be used at a later time, and to do evil. Um,
Meanwhile, they're letting out criminals, rapists, child molesters from
right,
prison
yeah.
because of
Well, yeah,
because
because
of
because they're supposedly on humanitarian grounds, because they want to slow the spread of corona in
well,
prisons.
see,
But the hypocrisy though of Alyssa Milano is in a debate that she had with Ted Cruz and one of the really obnoxious dad of one of the victims of the Florida shooting, the one with David Hogg. In that
yeah,
interview, she admitted that she owned 2 guns for protection.
of course she does,
Right, and then
because
but now
it
and then
doesn't.
she came out with the video saying that, oh no, you people shouldn't buy guns because you're gonna go and do illegal things with them.
It's the Bloomberg tactic where it's like where the guy asks us like, so you have armed security like and all this stuff like, but I can't have a weapon to protect myself like, and pretty much for lack of better words, it's like, well, I'm better than you.
Right?
I'm more
Yeah.
important.
He like
That's
yeah.
that's
The guy. Yeah, I remember the town hall thing that Bloomberg was holding, and he asked him, "Is your life more important than my life or my family's life?" And he basically said, "Yeah, it is."
yeah, and that's what these people think.
Right? And I mean, and yeah, this is a great time. I mean, let's not focus too much on the doom and gloom, because ultimately it's a choice. It's a choice of whether or not you're going to comply. I will not comply in any respect that goes against my constitutionally protected rights. So or even just like the mask thing. I'm not going to wear a mask. If the president himself said that he was not going to be wearing a mask, so if it's good enough for the president, it's good enough for me. And plus, and then I'm also taking the responsibility, you know, back into my hands, saying like, if I get infected, I get infected. There are a million automobile accidents in the country a year, but we don't shut down the roads over it. We understand. We
Yeah,
understand. We understand the risks. We understand. We're not stupid. We're not. We don't do dangerous things in our cars willy nilly. But we understand the risks, but we operate knowing the risks and operating our cars safely, or as safely as possible.
right.
So and so and I think that's how everyone should go forward. It's just like we understand the risks, we're willing to take it. We're willing to operate within a certain parameter. But if we get sick, that'll be on us. So everything in this world comes down to a choice. You either choose to or you choose not to, right? So all I'm saying is choose not to, and it's not even it's I know we're talking we're highlighting all of like these really scary things, like the mayor saying that calling for people to rat on each other, or like the overreach of like the police dragging that guy the off the bus. But it's just like this or this. And sometimes it's not a binary choice. It's not either this or this. It's just neither, and stepping away.
And it's like, it's all we're trying to tell you guys is like, to not necessarily to have fear, but to wake up.
Right,
Like I said,
exactly.
the government is not your friend. The media is not your friend. These people think that they're better than they are. It's and they're kind of like drug dealers. We're gonna keep you in fear, but if you listen to us, we have the fix, and they'll give you just enough to keep you like, oh, okay, but then they'll create another fear, another problem. And the only way is you have to keep this cycle. You have to listen to them. You have to do what they say. Otherwise, you're gonna die or whatever. And it's all bullshit.
Right.
Like, stop. You you can't listen to these people. They're not your friend.
Right. And the government is not here to protect you. It's I mean uh, the police aren't there to protect you. Their police do not prevent anything. They I shouldn't say they don't prevent anything. Um, they don't prevent much. I think I think a good majority of a policeman's job is janitor. They come after the fact.
Yeah.
They come after the deed is done, and after that, it's too late. Just like the government does not give one shit about you, not one
Well,
shit about you.
if you need any like, the whole thing about it was like the police. You had that with the Houston mayor. It was the Houston mayor who was like imploring criminals to take a break. Take a break, criminal.
Right. I know. During this pandemic, put down your guns. And
If I was Houston, I would be shitting my pants. Like, okay, well, that just pretty much gives free reign. Like, I was like, are they going to listen to that? No, they're going to be empowered by that.
right. It's the same thing with like the gun statistics. Like in Chicago, they have I mean I think outside of California, they have like one of the strictest gun laws in the country. And yet in
Yeah, the whole
Chicago, there's several like thousand murders a weekend
yeah, it's. I
by
mean,
by guns,
it's
and they
like
have
it's
some of the strongest. What was that?
I think it's the murder capital of America,
Mm,
Chicago,
I don't know. I think Baltimore's
or
pretty
close
up
to.
there.
Actually, you're right. That's right. It is.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but Chicago is like, but Chicago is up there. And again, in Illinois, there's a lot. They have some of the strictest gun laws out. Next, probably next to California. But yeah, like, again, in the city of Chicago, they have thousands of murders a weekend. A weekend, they have thousands of murders by guns. So it's
Yeah,
like there's like every gun law imaginable on the books, and yet there's still thousands of murders a weekend. A weekend,
and I
and
guarantee that those aren't legally owned firearms either.
exactly, that's exactly. There's every law conceivable to limit the access of guns, and yet there are thousands of deaths. Mostly, yeah, and like damn sure that all of those deaths were by illegally owned firearms.
Just I like my. I'm at this point where it's like I'm so mad that it's beyond shouting or cursing at the problem. It just my blood boils with this.
That's exactly right. That's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, when I was researching all this crap, it's like it wasn't like I wanted to yell, but it was just like, my sense of justice was, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? My sense of justice was, I don't know, activated, or
Yeah,
I don't, because everyone has an inherent sense of justice. And I mean, looking at that stuff and hearing like the quote from Mayor Garcetti, or reading the garbled, reading the garbled mess that law in Michigan is just like, it's incensed my sense of justice. Incense is the word I was looking for. And again, like Robert was saying, it's beyond just like yelling, going ah. It's just like it was just like my blood was like boiling because my sense of injustice was incited.
yeah. It's yeah. You get that blood
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and being a Korean, I know that feeling all too well.
rage. Yeah, I've been around things. I know blood rage.
Yeah, that K rate. Yes, that's what it is. That's like that's that the from Avengers when they had like the final battle, and like that huge like space whale is like coming at him, and Captain America's like, oh, he's like, Dr. Banner, it might be a good time for you to get angry. And he goes like, that's my secret, I'm always angry. And it's like, that's Koreans.
Oh man,
uh,
I just
oh,
I think that's. I don't know if you have anything else to share. Share.
no. I mean, I think I attained catharsis by talking about all this and getting it all out. Because again, we're not okay. Don't get the message twisted. We're not saying this to get you guys afraid. That's that's the last thing that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones calling your attention to the tornado. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
We're the ones saying tornado, tornado, tornado.
Yeah. It's all about like, it's part of the idea to inform you, to let you know what's going on and show you that it's not just one place here, another place there. It's happening all over the place. And if you're not careful, it's going to go down real bad.
Right.
But if,
And
but if you
some
stand up, you defend yourself, and you push back against these people, they will back down.
right. And sometimes it's not about the binary choice. Sometimes you have to create for yourself a third option. And and it's not yes or no. It's just I refuse to answer the
Now,
question.
it may cost you something, but it's the right thing to do.
Well, it might cost you in the moment, but going down the line, that you're gonna see that as an investment and not as a loss.
Right. It may cost you in the moment, but you'll gain freedom and liberty, which is your right, your God-given right.
Amen. All right, let's move on to the
Exciting.
yes. Let's move on to the more pleasant thing. Oh, I don't know even if it's that pleasant because I mean for the review of episode 2 of Tiger King, it got dark so fast.
But there's so much crazy goodness.
Right? It's just like it's I mean, as I learned this weekend from your dad, it was a train wreck, and it's
Yeah.
I finally learned the history or the etymology of that phrase, and what a beautiful train wreck Tiger King is.
Oh yeah, this is one to behold.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched some things about the entire series, but I'm
Yeah.
actually watching this episode by episode.
Yeah, and I'm rewatching it with you too. So
Yeah, and I gotta say, God damn, this show is fucking crazy, and it's a great bit of escapism too. It's just like the world is so getting so dark and dreary. It's like oh, Tiger King, you know.
thank God.
Yeah, thank God for this little distraction. But yes, episode 2 of Tiger King on Netflix. My God, it's
I think it's titled Cult of Personality.
yes, exactly. Which is
Yeah.
something I recognized right away in episode 1. I was just like, God, these they're running cults, and then episode 2 rolls around, and I find out some things, particularly about Doc Antle, and just like, God damn, this guy.
Yeah, dude. And well, I mean, if you look at it, like it's Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin. These people are all the same. They're doing the same.
Yeah, they're doing the exact. I mean, yeah, and I understand Joe Exotic and Doc Antle's animus towards Carol Baskin. Because she doesn't have employees; she just has volunteers. So
It's a PETA freak.
it's a what?
It's the PETA freak.
Yeah. It's the PETA freaks, but you know, um,
And you notice how it's all
they're
like
all
they cucked out men.
oh for Carol Baskin,
Yeah.
right? I mean, well, there are some women, but she here's the thing. She wraps herself in virtuousness by saying like, "Oh, I work with PETA and I don't have any employees. These are all volunteers. They all, give of themselves." But it's like they interviewed that one volunteer who was at like the bottom rung of the ladder, and she's like saying that she puts in like 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and she's hoping to fast track it to the next level. It's like, dude, it's like this is a fucking pyramid scheme, or or a cult. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, start off on this the red shirt level, and then go to the yellow shirt level, and then you get to the green, and then it's just like this is a cult. And she wraps her, and then Carol Baskin wraps herself with virtuousness, and people and people and swallow this garbage, and they get no, and people who are putting in full time or more uh, hours of work, are doing it for nothing.
She, it's like she's so bullshit. Just it. I read right through it like she, and it's like, and that's why those two hate her so much. They see it too. It's like she's full of fucking shit because she's doing
Exactly.
the same. She's running the same program that they are. She has an army of volunteers that she doesn't have to pay. She's a gazillionaire, and she doesn't have to pay them.
Right.
And
Yeah, the money, because I'm sure she gets donations, or even, I don't know, does she charge an entrance fee into her cat sanctuary?
yeah,
I would
probably.
imagine so. Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, and she has millions of visitors a year, and she's probably raking in millions, and yet she still just gets off by saying oh I work with PETA, and this is all for animal conservation and to protect these animals and yada yada, and people just buy that shit.
I mean, as I said, just I hate her so much. I just the fucking she's such a hypocrite. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. She's a hypocrite. She calls out Joe Exotic or Doc Antle, or I think we were introducing some of side characters who but
Well, and some of see the other guys that are part of it, they talk about those two, which we'll get to. Because I think they're actually kind of interesting and actually makes it too. Because one thing about what I do like about this is these animals that they're taking care of. They're fucking beautiful. I love tigers, lions, these giant cats. I mean, I think they're interesting creatures. And Doc Animal, he's always talking about, yeah, we had to make money somehow, but it's about learning about, and him and Joe talk about wildlife preservation, caring for where these creatures come from, and you know, obviously they have money to be, they have employees to pay, they have tigers. I mean, it's insane. It's an insane amount of money. Uh, but speaking to the cult factor, because they were trying to get Doc Hamilton. Like, oh yeah, I've been hearing it for 35 years. It's like you gotta have, it's like, yeah, but you kind of you've you have lured these attractive women that pretty much to get ahead have to sleep with you, and then you kind of you get them all to kind of like each other, and they are kind of, I don't know, they're changing their name, and they're too tired to fight back. So, 12 hour days. It's
right.
like,
Yeah, this is all again, this is all cult tactics where
and you're fucking all.
you get them to change their identities, to disassociate themselves from their past selves, and you run them ragged to the point where they become pliable, and susceptible to your instructions.
Now, have you also on Netflix? Have you seen another documentary called Wild Wild Country?
Wild Wild what?
Wild Wild Country.
No.
Well, essentially, it's another one of these kind of like similar. Well, it's another religious cult, but it's kind of like the same type of uh, belief system that Doctor has, and it's the same thing. It's like you pretty much uh, he's luring these women in, like it, but it's like he's this cult leader that's all the girls are kind of but that one lady said the chef at the top of his penis, like if you're touched by it, like you're special.
Say that
And
again. You're cutting like the sound was kind of cutting in and out.
what I'm saying is like this guy is, his extra special women have their own home, and the only way to get ahead to get special favor is to sleep with
Ah, is that small? Is that small girl, Smallville actress's cult you're talking about?
him. I don't. That was something.
Oh, okay. 'Cause, I mean, yeah, there was that cult too, where like the actress from Smallville back in the day, like she was part of this thing, and like she would basically recruit these young impressionable young women for this guy.
Yeah, I mean it's you could say it's in the same vein. It all ends up dealing with sex for some
Yeah.
reason.
Hmm.
Sex and money. It's all. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. In this case, it's tiger.
Right. Yeah, and it's like that's just like that like
It,
the little baby tiger. Yeah, they're like talking about how like the baby tigers are used like as a lure for these women.
yeah,
It's like
well,
oh like
and
was like
yeah,
aren't these the cutest things? Like oh wouldn't you want to work wouldn't you want to work with them like all the time or be
well,
around them all the time?
you
Like if I
even
got a
have
deal for you,
you even have the guy that is covering Joe Exotic. He says like you have no idea the lure that dealing with these wild animals is an addiction. And like he felt it too. He felt that pull.
right? Yeah, like the former like the former journalist guy that eventually went to work for him.
Yeah, and Joe's kind of doing the same thing where he's just collecting drifters, people who have no hope, nowhere to go,
Right.
and he's giving them this shitty trailer that has no air in and they don't have food, like, but like they have nowhere else to go, so they're given just enough to like, well, this is better than what I was doing, and I have nowhere to go, but um, I'll work hard enough to keep this easily existent. And it's like they're sucked in, and the ones that are special, he fucks
Right.
and he marries.
Or in the case of Joe Exotic, he marries.
Okay, so here's the other thing, Andy. Have you ever been so fucked up where you're like, you know what? I could take a dick in the ass and then marry the guy. Have you ever been that fucked up?
Never.
Yeah. So it's he talks about like how these guys were because they keep talking about how these guys were like, and no, not gay. It's like, and it's like, well, first of all, no one. I've never been so drunk or fucked up or tired where I'm like, yeah, fuck it, fuck you, girl, suck dick. Never, ever. It's not even doesn't even come across my mind.
Right.
Yet
And
people,
even and again, and even again, like my philosophy is that alcohol is a revealer. Alcohol never makes you do anything that is out of your character. It's a revealer of character.
no,
And
I've
so if
never done.
right, I never sucked a dude off because that's not what's in my character.
Well, that's like, but I've never done meth, so I don't know if like that's a factor here. But
Right. Yeah, I never done meth, so I don't know. Like, I never pushed myself to that boundary. Nor would I ever push myself to that boundary. But I guess I'm not one to pass judgment. Then,
oh my god,
to an extent.
that gay music that Joe put out. Oh my god,
Oh yes, that was. Oh,
it was completely cringeworthy.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, while we're on the subject of Joe Exotic, uh, uh, talking about in like kind of like kind of still within that realm of cult and you know kind of brainwashing. The one of his employees lost her fucking hand
Yeah,
and still defended him.
okay, that chick is crazy for one.
No, yeah,
Like,
of course, obviously.
well, it take a couple years to make get your hand back to your arm back to function properly, get nerves
Mhm.
back,
Right. I mean,
or
and it's a testament to her strength that that she lost her arm, but she's still working at the zoo, or at the time of the filming, she was still working at the zoo.
and see here's what I think is that the people that were working is like some of the people that actually working with Joe actually cared about these animals, and so
Hmm.
they would deal with whatever they had to deal with, care for them.
Right, and yeah, in her interview, she was saying how like she wanted to get back to work immediately, so like the media doesn't have the opportunity to spin this, or or Carol Baskin couldn't use this to spin this to her advantage.
Right, because I think like her name Steph, like her, the guy with no legs, and then the long hair. Those three actually gave a shit every
Mm-hmm.
time we with their focus.
Right, and yeah, I mean, and interesting enough, I'm kind of relieved to find out that the guy who lost his legs wasn't because of the
Yeah,
animals, but it was just because of his own kind of, idiocy.
yeah. Um,
I believe it was
so
a ziplining accident.
yeah, but no, yeah, these uh, Joe, Doc Ann, Carol Bass, they're cult leaders. They just use tigers and they create these usefulness that kind of work for them. Now, see, like what pisses off Doc and Joe is because they have to pay those people. And Carol doesn't, and she has probably 10 times the income that they do
Oh, right.
because all the money is going to her. Yeah, well, and I guess I'm assuming
Right,
now.
and the inheritance.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I just love how at the end of that episode, they just like threw it out there. It's just like, yeah, Carol killed her husband, fed him to a tiger.
so yeah, let's get to some of the side characters because they talk there's another guy that they talk about, like Tim Starr, and I'll say he's kind of like my touch or it's like where he's talking obviously he hates Carol too,
Wait, say that
so,
again?
because she's like batshit crazy. No, I was saying they all hate Carol because she's batshit.
Right, yeah.
Um, and but he's talking about like because tigers are endangered. Like a lot of these species are endangered, right? And he says, well, let's think about it. Let's think logically for a second. How do you stop a thing, creature being endangered? Good, you breed them. So like that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to because they're not out in the wild. They're being killed in the wild. So if we want these creatures to exist for us to learn about and to promote wildlife preservation. Duh, we need them around. Dumb shit. And it's like, yeah, and of course PETA doesn't. They don't protect any. They're just like another government agency. They only
it kind of makes sense because it's like, when's the last time anyone gave a shit about the island that the dodo is from?
Oh, they don't.
Exactly, because there's no more dodos to protect or to have like their natural habitat. So no one gives a shit about that island that the dodos used to live on.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had the guy that they kind of nicknamed like the real Tony Montana.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's pretty funny.
See, that guy was, and he says like, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, and it's like I didn't do the things that they said I did, but I was there, so it's like, yeah, I took my licks.
So yeah, I was like, so I had a hand. Like, I might have had a hand in it. I didn't do anything, but I was there. So yeah, that's right.
Well, and it's like he won his appeal, so he did his time. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is like, yeah, the reason I was selling drugs is because I have an addiction to these exotic animals. So that was funding my, this is how I was paying for them. And for their care.
Right. So it's like, yeah. So yeah. That's what I found hilarious because he's like, yeah, my addiction wasn't the drugs. My addiction was the cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course I was smuggling in drugs to make money so I can get more cats.
But see, he, of all of them, because he had maybe like a few employees, not that many, and it's like,
right, and like he had his wife that was helping out.
Yeah, he didn't have like 7 wives or like
a staff,
husbands. It's like he had like a couple of people that were close to him and his wife are caring for these animals, and that's it. That was pretty much it.
Right.
And he said like we made everything stupid proof so people don't do stupid shit. Try to get into the cages with these animals that are gonna kill them. That don't know how to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he limits access there because you get the crazy Carol Baskin, cuckery, cuck men and crazy are gonna try to destroy his combat the area where he's caring for these animals. But yeah, he it left a great teaser at the end of the episode of like her first husband just disappeared out of nowhere, and it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, she fed him too, fuck tiger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love how they ended that episode. It's just like they just like threw it out there. It's like, yeah, like it was just like matter of factly. It was very jarring. For me, it was very jarring because they just threw it out there like, oh yeah, she fucking killed him and fed him to a tiger. It's like, what? And
like, oh man, like this, it's like you're thinking like, oh, this documentary's almost over. Like, I mean, it's like it can't get any crazier than this, and then they throw that there. Like,
yeah, they had to make sure. Yeah, they had to make sure that you came back for the next episode. It was just like, bam, right there.
Oh, trust me, it did. It did for me.
I know. I was just, after, once the credits started rolling, I was like, holy shit.
And it's like you're almost like tempted. It's like, God, fuck, I want to watch this episode, but like you're restraining yourself. Man.
Yeah, I'm restraining myself, and it was funny because I'll admit, as fascinating as the first episode was, it didn't fully sink its claws into me. But it wasn't until the end of the second episode where it's like, fully in. I'm coming back for sure.
Got tiger teeth in you.
Yeah, because I'll be honest. After watching the first episode, I was like, okay, this is mildly fascinating. really interesting assortment of characters, and pretty interesting with like kind of like all of like the backbiting and like the feuds and things like that. So that's pretty cool. But then it's like, yeah, Carol Baskin killed her husband for the inheritance. But yeah, Phantom to the Tiger. It's like,
You know what you can do, Andy? Now that like Marvel's open up, like you can say like people have to do some girl ask, what happened to your hand? Fucking tiger got me.
yeah, I was Joe Exotic's was like favorite husband until this.
Well, don't say that. They might be like turned off by that, but like say,
yeah, but that could be the new that could be my new story.
it's like when I saw like her Steph's like dub, I was like, yeah, kind of looks a little bit like Andy. It's like he just say like he got bit by a tiger.
yeah. I could just say that. Oh, I used to work at a exotic animal park. I don't want
See?
to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's had like this really kind of like haunted look. It's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Then you get a pity fuck at.
That's always the end goal.
Wingman, I'll back you up.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
that's all I got. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
no, I can't wait till you watch episode 3.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's our episode of Tiger King, episode 2, Cult of Personality. Yeah, this I'll admit that the first episode didn't really get me. Um, I was fascinated by the characters and kind of like the plots or kind of like the history between these 3 characters. But episode 2 was the one that got me. Episode 2 was the one that got me. And now I am hooked. I have to see how this plays out. So yeah, do yourself a favor. If you want to get if you want to kind of forget about the Corona craziness or the draconian overreach, draconian authoritarian overreach of the government, then play some Tiger King and get lost for like an hour.
Best way to do it.
Only way to do it. All right, let's wrap up tonight with our movie review, which is excuse me, to go along with our Easter theme month, or biblical epic month, and that is Samson and Delilah from 1949, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, starring was it Hedy Lamarr, tasty slice, Victor Mature, and Angela Lansbury, who we were talking about this before we started the stream, but yeah, Angela Lansbury back in the day, tasty slice.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Tasty slice confirmed. But here, let me rattle you off the synopsis for this movie. Samson, the hero of the Israelites, wins the hand of a Philistine woman, Semedar, in a contest of strength. When she is killed during a conflict on their wedding night, however, Samson becomes a hunted man whom the Philistines, including Samedar's sister, Delilah, want to punish. This becomes complicated, however, when Samson suddenly acquires God's given superpower. And Delilah's true feelings for Samson surface.
Okay. Well,
So where do we begin?
What I was gonna say is like, now this is no 10 Commandments, but it's still a really good movie, and I think this is also very fitting that this is coming after we watched this only because this story, biblically happened after the period of the Exodus, and you know, after the Israelites reached the promised land, and kind of set up the story of Samson. After the Exodus, this, this, how we're left handed, Moses is not allowed into the promised land, and Joshua and the descendants of the former Egyptian slaves are the ones that are allowed in. And uh, God had commanded the Israelites to do very specific things to reach the land of Canaan, which was to be, Israel. And almost immediately they fail.
Right.
It's just a matter of time. It's human nature. We fail. We do stupid stuff, and they didn't fully follow God's command. And while they did, they almost did. They almost did what they were supposed to do, but they didn't quite finish conquering the land. And because of that, it's kind of like the idol worship that we see in the Ten Commandments, with golden calf. Well, all that idol worship, is different gods, but the same thing kind of comes back to people who don't, uh, you know, back to the, and that's where we get into the book of Judges. This, it deals with different tribes. It's the same type of problem where they give into idol worship, and because of that, God punishes them by captive the different other people that left the land, Canaan, or the surrounding areas. And like for example, Delilah, it's the tribe of Dan, and they are subject to the Philistines. The Philistines, it's like 40 years. They're under a 40-year reign of Philistines. And Samson, yeah, he's a judge. What a judge is. Essentially, he was the kind of the leader and ruler, or was
Right.
supposed to.
He was sort of like a governor for his specific tribe.
Exactly.
And
And
and because the Israelites were different in that they didn't have a king because God was supposed to be their king.
right, it was a theocratic kingdom where God was the head, but he had people that were overseeing. Each tribe had their own overseer.
Right.
Uh, and but when you read about the judges, they're all very flawed in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of maybe Samuel, but Samuel had his own flaws, but not to the extent of the judges. And Samson is, I think, pretty bad. He's a womanizer, and
Right. He's a
you know,
he's a he's a bit of a braggart. He's boastful.
yeah. Well, his birth is pretty spectacular in a lot of ways. A lot of these, good characters arrive. Their mothers were at one at one point unable to give birth. Then God rewards them with a child.
Right.
Uh,
The refrain of "He opens their wombs," is is quite common.
yeah, that happens in a multitude of characters. And and in this case, like there's the famous Nazarite vow that is uh, given by his mother, and that means that he's not to cut his. There's very strict observations that he has to do, like he can't cut his hair. He's supposed. I think he's supposed to be like free of like all these restrictions. Now Samson pretty much, you know, the only one I think he is in compliance of is he doesn't cut his hair.
Right, yeah, 'cause he doesn't live a chaste life. He doesn't abstain from drinking or gambling.
Yeah, he does all that stuff, but he doesn't cut his hair, and
Right,
yet because he keeps that one part of it is why I think God allows his
and
strength
God
isn't,
blesses him. Yeah, God blesses him with the strength because he
but
still follows that one precept.
yeah, and the other thing too is that he's not only is he not being chased, or but he's not even going after women of Israelite women, which is at that point forbidden for the
Right.
Israelites to, that changes later on. But that's essentially at that point there was a restriction like to marry other Israelites, not
Hmm.
to not to mix with the foreign tribes or these foreign countries because of the lure of idolatry,
Hmm.
which is pretty much like it's never followed.
Right. Some might
And
even say even till today.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's yeah. Now it's even more huge ever, but and that's where the story of Samson from. And now it's this one not as accurate as the um, but it still does a pretty good job of following the story.
Yeah, they definitely created this in the
They take a little bit more liberties in a few
right,
cases.
right to tell like yeah like I don't was like having like Kid Saul in the story. I didn't even know if he would be alive or he was alive even around the time of Samson.
And well, he wasn't a Danite. He's from the tribe of Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's so he even if he was alive, he's not from that tribe. So
Hmm.
that's so I don't know if it was just another person that was named Saul, but they
No,
definitely
because
allude.
right, they
They
did
definitely
allude
allude.
it because he was like, "Oh, one day you'll become king or something."
Yeah, it's that was like that does. I think they just need because I think the reason they threw that in because that name is much more familiar than probably Samson is. Um, Now, quick side note about Samson is that the creators of Superman, um, they were Jewish and they took inspiration off the strength of Samson to create
Mm-hmm. Right, I think the kind of the lore behind the creation of Superman was, two like these two Jewish men who wanted to create this character, and like at the time, um, all the persecutions were happening in Europe, so they basically wanted to create a proxy Jewish like superhero.
Yeah, yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, but let's so there's kind of the background to the story uh, to the movie Samson and Delilah. Like I said, the movie takes a few more liberties than let's say Ten Commandments did, but the Ten Commandments also noted of where it was taken some of its source material from, which is a lot of it was from uh, Philo, like which it's a bit of a speculation, but even but it did follow the biblical side of it. Philo's it followed that pretty closely, and it wasn't just wild. It, I would say like pretty accurate what was happening. This one I felt was a little bit more because the wording that was used why Cecil B. DeMille did this story is because he felt love stories were like when I think of Samson and Delilah, I think, yeah, it's a it's just I don't see a love story now in the
Right.
movie.
No, yeah, I think,
A
and
great
that's what
love.
I think. One of those, I think that's what that's where they took one of the liberties because yeah, I read the Tale of Samson and Delilah as well, and like it never was like it never felt like a love story. Um, where this, where Delilah was like this, love crazed girl for Samson, and she was like, she became spurned, and um, she
Well,
wanted,
and I
and she wanted to get revenge, because of like the murder of the murder of her family.
well, I think even if I'm I like I said, it's been a while since I've read the story, Samson and
Hmm.
Delilah, the full story, but unlike the movie, Delilah and Seminar, they're not related. The biblical story, I don't think. And
Right.
uh, Delilah, she's not a she's not like high standing family. She's a prostitute, and the reason that she's used by the Philistines is they want revenge from the Philistines that he is condemned to kill. And so they use Delilah, and they know his weakness is for Philistine women, and Delilah is kind of the hot.
Yeah. What is it? Delilah's based like she might be the first recorded honeypot.
But we'll say this: Samson wasn't simping because he got something. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Samson wasn't a simp. Let's get that straight. Samson wasn't a simp.
but but the but the term still, I think, still works.
They still apply to Samson?
No, I'm saying it's like no. I think the term honeypot still works a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. 'Cause, yeah, she was just used to entrap him. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Whereas like in the movie, yeah, like there's like this kind of revenge love story sort of thing, and so she.
because she's pissed off that Samson didn't chose her older sister.
Right.
But even in that, she was like she still loves Samson in a way, and like she kept trying to like Tyson like just get out of here.
Right. It was yeah. It's just like oh come and I think she was I think she was genuine when during that scene where she was seducing him. And said, "Oh, let's just run away to Egypt. They don't know who we are there. We can start a new life." I think I think she was being genuine, and she really. I think she was. She. I think as much as she was seducing him, I think she was falling back in love with him in that moment.
And here's the other thing too is like kind of for looking back, and I'm just talking about movies.
Right, right.
So
That's what. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
so you kind of have like and this might be a Cecil B. DeMille uh, staple, but in the story, uh, Moses, kind of had that love affair with Pharaoh's daughter, and despite everything that happened, she still loved him up until the point that you know her son was killed in the last
Right.
plague. And it's kind of like the same thing that although Delilah hated
Well,
him up until the point where she was trying to, seduce him to sell him to the Philistines, yet in this case, her love is like she remembers why she loves him and tries to just like get them to speak.
right. But I think it's a little. Well, it still could be a signature of Cecil B. DeMille, but this movie came out first, so he might have actually lifted that idea of the female pro antagonist. like still being in love with the main character into Ten Commandments.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I get
yeah, an interesting little tidbit about the connection, the other connection between Ten Commandments and Samson and Delilah is that the character or the actress playing the character of Miriam, she actually then goes on to play Moses' sister Miriam in Ten Commandments.
that's right. I knew she looked familiar.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Her name is Olive Deary.
yeah, no, she played a great Miriam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So good that Cecil B. DeMille. I need a Miriam. It's like, I know. I'll call Olive.
Yeah, call her up. Um, outside of like, because like I said, the liberties that were taken in this one were a little bit more not egregious because it's not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna set that aside and just look at it as a movie itself.
Right.
And if you're looking for like a good romantic, this is your film right here. This is a great one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this has everything. It has, romance. It has a revenge story. It has, betrayal. Yeah, just everything that you want in a really good story. This movie has, and yeah, even though it's not, doesn't follow the Bible's account, 100%. I think for the sake of telling a good story, I think that's to its benefit as opposed to being detrimental.
Hey, and if you like Tiger King, Samson kills a lion with his bare hand.
There you go. Yeah, and it gets Delilah all moist down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, just so interesting that like even when like he's able to negotiate his Samadar's hand in marriage. She's still Delilah is still jonesing after Samson, even to the
yeah,
point where even though like there's like there was the supposed betrayal by Samadar, by revealing the answer to Samson's riddle that he gives to all the Philistine wedding guests. She's still able to like whisper into her father's ear, and it's like, oh, well, there's this other guy who wants to, marry her. Why don't you can give it, you can give it to her, give Samadar to him, and it just kind of goes to the prowess of Delilah. And even in the movie, that all the characters, even Samson himself is saying like, oh, Delilah learned all her tricks from the devil,
yeah. She did.
and so. But it's like, and Delilah's a bit of a tragic character because she never really finds love. Even when she's with the king of the Philistines, she's not made queen. She's made what was it they called her, consort.
Yeah,
So she
she's
was
the
like,
queen whore.
yeah, she's the queen whore, or queen of the whores, or queen of the king's whores.
Yeah,
That's more accurate.
it's like assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah. um, so yeah, she in her entire life she's not able to find love because of the hatred and the bitterness that she holds on to toward against Samson.
Yeah,
Um, what are your feelings? I don't know. I wanted to ask you what your feelings were about like how like her somewhat redemptive moment where she helped Samson at the end. And then she ultimately, because of her great love for Samson, she too decides, um, instead of living without Samson, that they would die together.
I think that part of it was a it was part of it was obviously out of like she felt for him,
Mhm.
and she's like didn't want to live without him.
Mhm.
I think the other part of it was like she felt guilty that she's essentially responsible
Mhm.
for putting him in that situation. And as far as the movie plot goes, it's a great ending.
Mhm.
Um, tragic ending. It's a good ending.
Okay, so he had no problems with the ending of the movie.
No, it's like I said. I'm just going straight off of not trying to compare it to the biblical account. Oh,
Right.
it's a great ending.
Mhm. Okay. I agree, and it's interesting 'cause I love how the Philistine king, like, how, when the temple is like collapsing all around me and he sees like you know the rubble about to come down on his head, he just was like, fuck it, and like, just like raises his glass to like Samson's like, you got yours, he's like, you got yours, and then he like and he dies. I
Like
mean,
you got me, you bastard.
yeah, I was like, I gotta give him props for like, taking his death like a man. Just like, he's like, yeah, you got the best of me. You know what I
Yeah, well,
mean?
that part of the movie is actually fairly accurate because everyone in that temple dies
Right.
because Samson was
Right. Yeah, because like they thought that they had won. They finally defeated Samson. But what they didn't realize was that he through
himself at God's mercy.
right he through prayer and repentance, God blessed him again with his strength to fulfill one last act, which is to destroy the temple of Dagon.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like one other thing about the beautiful, once again, beautiful costume set. They're
Well,
not
I
just
mean, I agree that I like the intricacy. I don't know if like as much, I don't know if that as much budget was put into this movie as opposed to Ten Commandments. Uh,
yeah. Well, this is an earlier film too. So he probably didn't have as much to say.
True. Yeah, 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 yeah. But what for what they probably had to work with and what was presented on screen, I think, yeah, it was fairly well done. Again, we don't know because we don't I don't know how deeply they went into research uh, about like ancient Philistine culture, but yeah, I was still fairly impressed with like the armor design of like the soldiers and the design of like the gowns and things for like the Philistine elite.
Yeah.
It all still worked.
I think, it's and the other thing is like it's shown here, which also I think it's a little bit account. In the biblical account, it seems like Samson is very flippant towards like his own people in a lot of ways. They can kind of really after his own, you know, lust and pursuit.
Right,
Um,
his own app. Yeah, in the biblical account, even though he was a judge, he didn't seem that concerned with like the plight or the problems of his people. He's just it was very, in the Bible at least, it was very much looking out for himself and getting his. But in this movie, yeah, they kind of the mill made him they turned him into kind of like a folk hero.
well, like I said, in the case like the biblical account of Samson, a good character that doesn't necessarily make it's all now. If like they were to make it today, it's like, oh well, that's this type of figure that's presented in Samson's film. But now it's like, oh, that's not realistic. And so the like if this was made today, the Samson that presents the Bible is probably the way that it shows. Just kind of a a shitty guy.
Yeah.
In the best case scenario, yeah, he's chosen by God. He's kind of a shitty person. But yeah, this film, like, he's made into this person that does, yeah, he has his appetite. He's a flawed character, yet at the same time, he does have convictions, and he's a confident himself. And that's what makes it a good film.
Say that again.
No, I'm saying it's like, they made him into a much more complicated figure who has, uh, good qualities about it, and it makes it a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Were there any other scenes or characters you enjoyed? I believe.
Mm, no, that's about, yeah. That's all I. Yeah, no other scenes or anything
Yeah.
like that.
So, I'll finish this. I was like, if you're looking for 100% biblical accuracy, then you're not gonna like it. But if you like,
I think you might be the only person that might really seek that.
what? No, here's the thing: is I really like this film.
Hmm.
But like I said, if you're looking for like spot on biblical accuracy, and yes, you might not like this film. But if you're just looking for a good story with uh, interesting characters, great dialogue, uh, all that stuff, I think you're gonna love this movie. Yeah, if you're looking for a good romantic drama, this is this is one of the better ones I've seen.
Mm. And I'd agree with you with that.
Uh, should we give our ratings?
Yeah, give our ratings and let's put this one to bed.
All right, I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Uh, it's not quite the Ten Commandments.
Hmm.
I can't give it the same rating as that.
Hmm.
As I said, it gets a couple points off where it takes a little too liberal with the count. But it's a good movie, great acting. Um, like I said, it's probably the best romantic, one of the better ones I've ever seen. Um, I'm definitely gonna rewatch it again. Uh, and it's Cecil B. DeMille, like, he does a really good job.
Yeah, no, solid, solid.
Yeah, solid director. I'm starting to really respect.
Hmm.
Not that I didn't before, but now that I'm thinking of what
Yeah,
you
just
know,
yeah, just more of an appreciation.
uh, but yeah, I heard everyone go see this. Right?
Right. As for myself, I'm gonna give this a 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this a 3. Again, I think similarly to you, I thought this was a great movie. Solid directing, solid acting. Uh, yeah, like you said, not accurate to the biblical account, but it did tell a really good story about love and revenge and redemption and fulfilling one's you know duty or purpose. Um, I understand that this is an early movie, but kind of like I kind of realized that that and again I realized this was early in the history of Hollywood and filmmaking, but they're taking a lot of cues from kind of like musical theater, and so sometimes the way that characters would talk or respond it seems very much like a chorus, especially like when uh, the wedding banquet scene, and how like each of the guests had to have like their response, but or said something, but it was always kind of like in a chorus where it's like one person, and then and then this person follows, and then this. So
Yeah,
that was
you're gonna find a lot of that in like these type of films, just because
exactly.
these type of intermissions. It is kind of theater.
Yeah. I mean, not to dig it too much, but it was getting I was noticing it far too much for me to not. It didn't terribly affect my enjoyment of this film, but it's just like it was something that I just kept noticing and just kind of like pulled me out of the movie a little bit. Um, that's not, it's still not to say that it wasn't a good movie. And so yeah, and those are my reasons for giving it a 3. But yeah, I hope you guys give it a chance. And that's our rating. That's our review for Samson and Delilah. Robert gives it a 3.5. I give it a 3. Still recommended to watch this movie. It's a good one, and I think I think you'd be surprised at how much you enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I was, outside of like Teddy Lamar and Angela Lansbury, really too many actors and actresses. It's yeah,
Yeah, Hedy Lamar and Angela Lansbury. Tasty slices. All right. Well, okay.
no Jessica Fletcher.
Huh?
Angela Lansbury is no Jessica Fletcher in this one.
Oh.
From Murder She Wrote.
Oh, right.
I'm dating.
Oh, all right. Well, that's our show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I mean, I know it started off pretty rough. We are talking about pretty heavy things. But again, we're not trying to stoke fear. We're trying to alleviate fear. We're the ones calling out the tornado that's coming. Um, so I hope you guys will take heed, and start looking around yourself, seeing start seeing the small little bites that government is taking, because before long they're going to be huge bites, huge gigantic bites, and there won't be any way to stop it. So we have to start now, while they're still taking little tiny bites. We have to push back.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I hope you come join us again next week. We'll do our best to have lighter topics. We'll we'll still keep our Tiger King review going, so that that'll be a little bright spot in the program. Say that again.
I was saying we got to figure out what happened to Carol Baskin.
Yes, we gotta figure out what happened to Carol Baskin's husband, because that shit is crazy.
And we got a little bit more Martin Scorsese action in the last Patient of Christ.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the review for next week. Keeping in lines of like biblical, epic, Easter. I mean, well, it's not. It's a pretty epic film from what I recall of it, because
I've
I
never seen it.
I've seen snippets. I've seen parts of it. I've never actually sat down and watched it in its entirety, but it's pretty epic. And it deals with it kind of deals with a subject which kind of Dan Brown covers in his Da Vinci Code book.
Yeah.
So So yeah, if you guys want to join in on the conversation during the review, give it a watch and come join us next Tuesday. All right. Yeah, and again, thank you again. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.